Hello everyone, this is Zufar and let me show you today my face. I hope you can hear me well today, right from beginning. I decided that I will tune up my camera for my face and I will do some announcements face to face, and I'm glad that a number of people joined and already are there. Anyway, today I will show you my demo part 2, and next week I will show you a third part. In fact, two sessions of almost 2 hours each were not enough. Remember last time I spoke about the brushes, I've been speaking about colors, and some like extra questions came along the way, and probably first almost 10 minutes we've been struggling with the sound. Let me know if you can hear me well. Let me look at the stream. Yes, so far I don't see any negative, I would say, feedback because of sound. I hope you hear me well enough. So this is getting recorded, and this will be posted as well, posted tomorrow, and it will go online. And for a video from the previous session will be taken off, so I really urge you to watch it, and then it will be moved for another week to Rosera Academy, which is former Confident Artist, and then it will be added to the subscription plan. Our subscription plan is something which I probably need to open for all of you, where I will keep a system, not just like a bunch of different videos as we have on YouTube, even though you're very good to find what you need. But there, if you come, you will have a lot of different resources. At least videos will be some sort of systematized for beginners, for those who want to just learn about colors or about the drawing, and then the whole important things like composition and painting landscape elements, and then painting the whole system, plein air painting and studio painting. And I would like to thank those who watched previous video and supported me, and I'm afraid to not to remember everyone, because more payments possibly will come. It's just buy me a coffee, $5, and I also added option if someone would like to support on monthly base. And then of course it will look like a subscription to videos. But anyway, thank you for Eileen Eder, a big friend of mine from Lime Academy, Mel McGee, Nancy Wallace, Ed Lewandowski, Sheila Wolf, Louis Price, and a number of more artists who have been with me for years and so kind to support me, my channel, my efforts to educate online, along with my regular practice of painting. So I basically explained what we're planning to do. Next week, next Thursday, I will be in Denver, Colorado, on my way to a Brinton Museum, where I have little over 2 weeks residency. I chose end of March, beginning of April, because I want to see a bunch of snow when it melts, river swells, and I'll go to mountains where more snow should be. So I like, and I've been dreaming and planning to paint something similar. My travels usually happen summertime, fall, but not much in spring. Many of us do not like early spring when we have a lot of greens. But anyway, it's also something which really important to paint, and with friend of mine who helps me a lot, we decided to create a series of classes which called Landscape Painting in 4 Steps, same as a DVD published with a streamline, and we decided to make it as a block. On April 12th we'll have online demo, which will be paid one. It will be just exclusive. It will not go to free resources. Why it's exclusive? I will try to within 2.5 3 hours generally to put a lot of understanding of structure, demo will be speed up, and that demo I will paint as a principle. So since I will be in Wyoming coming 2-3 weeks, I will do a recording there, and I think it will happen very nicely. Definitely will have my laptop and we'll be editing, and then we'll do on April 12th, which is day when the first man went to the space. This session, it's going to be Tuesday, and then everything else is going to be Tuesdays as well. So we'll have online class, which is live demos, questions and answers. It will be April 19th month, a week after the April 12th. It will be Tuesday again. It will be 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Maximum 3 hours, pretty a decent amount of time. And we do it early afternoon to let people from West Coast to participate as well. So May 3rd and May 10th. And then we plan on May 21st, which is Friday, Saturday, to do plein air workshop here in Connecticut, in Litchfield County. Definitely no snow. It will be early spring. A lot of those weathers, which are, those leaves and trees, which are difficult to paint. So I will explain you how to work in plein air. That will be our first day. And the second day, how we work in studio. So first day will be outdoors and second day will be in studio. So, and this will teach you again to paint more often outside, outdoors, getting ready for summer and fall. And then following day, Sunday, May 22nd, we have plein air gathering, plein air paint out. There will be no instruction, we'll be already friends. If somebody who took online class, demo, or the workshop can join us, it will be not open for anyone. I want to have some sort of exclusivity, and it will be complimentary. So it will be no pay event for those who are part of the club. Let's put it this way. So that's pretty much it. And today I'm going to show you process of painting, which I recorded yesterday, and I'll be commenting now. Less stress, less stops, and as I see from Barbara and from Adam, that everything is good. I guess practicing more often helps a lot to get better quality of sound and picture. I'm very happy with how it looks on screen. That's just outstanding. And yes, we are going now to see the video. I'm not going to explain again. I'm not going to show just a moment. Yes, I'm not going to explain you again my colors and paints because that was part of the first part. That was beginning of the first part. And let me just right away go to video. So what we have here? We have here something new which appeared. I just decided to show you liquid and Galkit gel, which will be our main medium, which I'm going to use not a lot. It just happens that at times our paint is just too thick. Some tubes are thicker, different brands, or stayed longer, and I will be using Galkit or the liquid impasto, and we'll be adding some medium into it. So let's squeeze some part of it, since we'll be tapping and mixing within a session, creating different mixes. I do 3 piles. I think I've been showing that before. Sometimes you can put maybe white paint there if your palette is big enough, but this is going to work well. So I'll be using this round brush, which is a good choice to go over dry surface. As you know, our paint got dry within several days, and to work comfortably I can also use this kind of brush, or also that's our goal to work on, is a refining of our kind of like mistakes which happened. Let's say some stem of the trees didn't get right, and I'm mixing some relatively neutral paint, which is almost brown. It's of, as you see, cadmium, orange, and ultramarine blue. I'm adding a small amount of alizarin permanent to make it not obviously purple, like muted purple, let's put it this way. And what I see that all this isle, or a peninsula rather, on the left side, it needs some refined shape. You can compare, of course. I think you all like that you can see a reference at the same time as a painting. Quality of video is good enough, and I'm trying to I will make it darker at one point. At the same time, it's just like, it's too uniform, it's the same angle, sloping to the right and then sloping to the left at the bottom. So let's make it more interesting. And I'm working on ice, adding feeling of a wet ice, which got some touch of water. So the temperature is getting just a little above freezing. So I would not walk over this little pond, because at this time ice, unless it's very thick, could be quite fragile. So, and also I'm talking about lines which are about to be horizontal. I really want to see kind of lines which are closer to horizon, kind of enough relaxed, no many curves, definitely some stability need to be observed, and quite often edge of water or edge of the river is a good choice. Also, you see all these lines, including these birch tree trunks, are they are kind of from painting from right and from the left, they got distorted, even though you see them curvy on a reference image, and we had to make all that balance kind of corrected. First, of course, camera distort them, making all these birch trees leaning to the right. And on the other hand, even if that happens really in reality, for compositional balance, we need to make some of them straight, some of them even leaning to the left, and find good rhythm. This is not approach usually for plein air studies. It's usually a approach for a painting, like finalizing composition. So these sessions are not our class sessions where we really break. We have more time and we break. So now we are working on plein air study, and goals are such and such and such. And then let's say we work on that was step 2. Step 1 was just sketch, thinking process. Steps 3, we really focus on composition, thinking which details we may want. We kind of check some information from, like, more carefully from photograph. And with pencil, it's a pleasure working. And then, of course, painting on step 4, final painting. We have compositional decision made, and we really now to put everything together. And working more on emotional aspect, adding details, removing details at the end. So whatever works well and whatever doesn't. So with all that understanding. So here we're working on a hybrid type of session. It's a studio session which is short enough, and when you're outside, it could be overwhelming. You can feel very happy, but it's just impossible to say that you're indifferent. In studio, it's so easy to feel relaxed, and some of my, I think several artists whom I know from my mother country, it's like, how can you really express feeling of cold if you're painting in a warm studio? So you really cannot show that crisp snow if you don't see it, if you don't feel it, if you're not immersed into that weather environment. So as you see, I'm trying to have different colors used for this like closer edge of this peninsula, and to that, I would say, exposed ground, upper, it's like kind of a little small ridge on the top of the peninsula. This photograph, which is our reference, it's definitely a photograph taken in overcast day, and on that day it looks like everything seems to be quite gray, and that grass looks grayish, and trees look gray, and branches look gray. Even those trees, spruce trees and pines and helmet trees in the distance, they don't look that bright green. Yes, what's really is some sort of not disadvantage, but the painting which I'm painting for you, it's painted in studio where I have tremendous light just for you to see better colors, and I tune it down. And when I paint it under that light condition. And this painting will never be shown under this light condition on the wall in an apartment, unless, or in your house, unless you really have a good special light kind of beaming on your painting. So painting which came out will need some touch-ups later additionally, so which I'm going to do, and that will be actually bigger part of it will be session number 3. We'll call it a coming back for painting retouch. I try not to do a retouch of plein air studies, because studies are studies. You need to stay focused and finish it. Whatever you will do in studio, that will be not from direct observation. So you may kind of brush up something there, but most often with the purpose of doing so, you can destroy that color freshness. And also, you need to understand which direction you go and move during your practice, because when you, let's say, outside and your painting did not come out, you did not really serve, didn't really kind of reach your goals, you may come to studio, fix it up, and it looks nice, and then your own heart and or whatever, your mind, most likely known to be a lazy thing, because it uses so much of the energy in our brain and in our body, and body doesn't want to spend so much glucose. So it's really try to rest when possible. It takes like 6-8 hours of sleep every day. So what happens, we think, oh, this is not too bad, let me next time do the same way, it happened okay. I'm not, of course, the person who really says you need to make mistakes like intentionally, no. But if your mistake is systemic mistake, observe it, don't patch it up a wrong way. You rather bring it, think about it, and next time you practice. It's not a crime, it's not dealing with somebody's lives and feelings. It's just about you and your canvas, and the world around is resource for you, like an exhausted resource of inspiration. And you would go and paint again, and you would say, if you remember, if you did analysis, last time I've been doing this thing, and this next time I'm not going to do it. I'm observing myself from the side. If I'm going wrong way, I will tell myself, Zufar or Sally or John, let's stay focused on this and this and not get distracted. Let's follow algorithm, let's follow protocol. And the protocol should have flexibility, and of course it's not a very rigid thing. On the other hand, of course, if you go often to paint something similar, that's actually a good thing. If you go and paint spring like this, or at least try to do it in studio, and then go again outside, weather like that, you will definitely see that you have a good chance to improve. So now I will try to correct this shape between these spruce trees. Let's get back to painting. You see, last time when I was showing, I thought like that area looks too dark and shadows looks too bright green wise in I'd say lit area, which are not deep shadow. Now it looks more adequate, and what we need to always remember that distant things, these distant darkest darks, will not be that dark and will not have those sharp edges as anything on the foreground. So when I apply, let's say, stems of trees down there, I definitely want to make them colors muted, values with less contrast. Will we have them bluer on sunny day? Definitely. On cloudy day, only with a big distance, if we had any mountains in a distance. Definitely distant things will be absolutely beautifully blue. Closer things for several miles will stay kind of grayish. And talking gray, it's definitely worth a recording the whole course about beautiful grays. So how beauty of, let's say, gray of pearls really amaze us, how we can paint pearly days when there is no bright light. How can we paint days like this when a lot of grays can be observed and still being very colorful and emotionally filled. Of course, there is no much joy observing it, but it could be quite lyrical. Okay, I don't want people to be very emotional looking at this and crying. That would be I mean, with landscape like this, I had different goals. So what I'm doing there, painting that brown on top of the green. If you look at our reference image, that brown, which is very close by value and say a little lighter, is a crown of those leafy trees in a distance, other birches or oaks or aspens, whatever is there, and they create that reddish brownish kind of patches, and which are backed by that green. And those greens in shadows, even though they are warm in the distance, they may turn to be not exactly cooler, but maybe like getting violet. On the left side, behind these birch trees, we see, it's hard even to say what we see. We see big shadow, and it could be spruce trees, evergreens, or it could be not evergreens. It's hard to say. Only maybe a little bit of green tells us there are some evergreens exist and present. So I will, but I would say there is a big mass kind of interaction of many small branches of these birches, which create a purplish, warm, yellowish, grayish cloud, which like a smoke makes distant darks look different. At the same time, it's a mesh, and somewhere you need to show that behind this tree in the distance there are some other masses. So we need to separate this tree cloud from the mass of the woods in the distance. So I'm adding somewhere here and there a little bit of blue, because once you paint it like evenly with the same color, it will start become very graphical. It will be like a print in an old book. So there is no really play of colors. I'm not for going with all colors of a rainbow to create, but you need to work with I like triad of colors. Not two, but two will be better definitely than one. Like if we need anything lighter, will be just brown. Let's say if I need darker, it will be darker brown. With lighter, it will be brown with titanium white. And you know, any white and mix pretty much with any paint makes paint cooler, except of blues probably. Even blues, in fact. Yes, I think the ultramarine blue, when it's lighter, it's cooler. So I'll be approaching that area. I've been showing on it on video several times, going back and forth, and there will be interaction of at least 4 colors. One of them will be greenish gray, one of them will be purplish gray, one of them will be yellowish gray, and kind of purplish, kind of on the red side. What really helps a lot for us is that stems of these birch trees in the foreground, they are not just white. I was showing the edge of the woods. In the distance, on a reference, you cannot see it well. I will probably show it somewhere a little harder, somewhere uneven, because of the crown goes higher, etc., and it changes color as well. Same branch, when it has, let's say, when we use paint and we have, let's say, dark mass of trees behind, it will be painted with one color. It contrasts to it usually. It looks warm, yellowish or reddish. When and because of there is no light source behind it, it's the thin branch itself becomes like a source of reflected light. It has its own probably local color, plus working on contrast with a purple back, it looks yellower or even redder. When you look at that crown, that mesh of branches against the sky, we see not just sky behind it, but the light goes around those small branches and create interference. And you will see a little bit of blue, and also sky, even on a forecast day like this, it's usually, as you could see, it's pretty cool. It has more of a blue, grayish blue in sky. And definitely those branches will be not just warm, not just like orange or reddish. They will have some reddish warm and greenish kind of streaks, and some blue as well, giving that feeling of vibration, of creating that mesh effect. So now let's add a little bit of more of a cooler shade to those distant leafy naked trees. So you see that having that play of reddish brown and purplish blue, especially when we put separate brush strokes, bigger or smaller, they start kind of playing like a music. So I would like to also correct the outline of the sky. So let's go put the skyline, because first, it's one of the ways of impression. We need to find it interesting. Do I see it interesting on reference? I don't think so. We need to simplify it, and on the other hand, we need to make it simple and much more clear, I would say. So not going with 1,000 little bumps, but rather with maybe 3 more definite bumps, and then some areas with just soft edges, and some areas where it really is blending happening, because another tree is visible. Why I did that looks like the pine tree, almost purple, because it's covered by crown of these birch trees, and it's not gonna be green. If you look carefully to the reference image, you will see green just shows up somewhere there, but overall that area is kind of gray and purple. So to create a believable effect on those birch trees, like the tops of them, it's a difficult thing. I will be coming to it again and again and again, and comparing to reference image, it's almost impossible to create 100% like way of looking the same. On the other hand, you need to find your own language of working on it. So, and the stems of birch trees are absolutely different thing. So on top they look darker, and like of course down they look lighter. Then in reality, like that, the white bark of the birch tree starts somewhere, maybe it's covered like 2/3 of it, and at the bottom has whiter areas, and they're not really white, they are very warm. On any day you need to add something like yellow ochre at least to make them good enough, believable enough. Plus it has those little dents, so where the branches start, and some of them get dry, some of them are not, but the black dots present over there, and that makes a birch tree very unique. I work on my painting trying to balance things. It makes painting process a little not just would go and do like going on triangle, one corner, another corner, third corner, again first corner, second corner, third corner, maybe second corner, first corner, third corner. So kind of doing that, not spontaneous, but like a dance. And I'm expanding my painting from the view from the birch trees, because painting crowns requires multiple approaches, and it's still not there, and then I'm moving and working on the background. The foreground I'm leaving for a little bit later, even though it's already start being annoying having those dark, kind of strong contrasts of the yellow and dark green. I will need to kind of find that edge of the birch trees natural enough. It's not bad idea to do final touch-ups over dry surface again. I will let this painting to dry for a couple more days. You will have actually a week, and then next week you can get back to this painting and finish it. Or you can finish it now. It just will be finishing under, I'll be finishing. You may be interested how I solve this and follow it or not to follow it, or maybe just take a note for future and use these maneuvers. Maybe you will find next time being outside or working on next painting. Let me try how Zufar showed. And sorry, it's not always clear from first time. And sorry for the noise with the microphone. It's just a little bump. If you have any questions today, since I did a pre-recording for all of you, I definitely have time answering questions more freely, because painting is going on its own, and it's a visual thing. It's self-explanatory. It's not like playing instrument. If you don't listen to music, you cannot really understand and learn. But with painting, you can watch this again and listen to me separately from what you see on screen. I'm trying to comment, and as you see, I'm introducing that blue, and I even see not just that blue which is ultramarine, but definitely that blue which is closer to cerulean blue, and I'm trying to put it there. Just some tiny lines to make it complex, And I think initially, not initially, just like 10 minutes ago, I made this stem, not stem, but crown of the trees dense enough. Now I need to work on creating sky holes in picturesque, very typical for birch trees sequence. You can say that the shape of the crown of my spruce trees are different from the shape of the crowns of those trees which are on the reference. It's just I don't like that feeling which create them falling to the right. If I had a bigger painting, I had a bigger support of space to the right and to the left, this could be still okay. But otherwise, I'm trying to create a, you see like two curves. On the right side, birch tree goes to the right and then goes becomes straight if we talk from the root up to the top. The same thing and similar, but like a mirror reflection, we see things happening on the left side. And we have a darker tree, not birch tree. So since I would say the color choice, what we call palette, the whole interaction of colors which we're dealing with, they're all on palette. I'm not switching, I'm still working and adding for distant parts somewhere like denser, darker masses. Somewhere I make them cooler. I see there is, I think there is a little, yes, a couple of trees on the right side. We'll paint stems for them later. Yes, and I'm going to prepare a base for them. I think it's time for me to paint and work on sky because now, since we kind of got colors of the background more definite, we need to work on outline on the clouds to get the value, intensity of color, not restrained, but make them closer to a real thing. It's way too much of blue, and if you look at the, of course, reference, there is a blue. It's like a shadow part. On sunny days, on a cloud like this, shadow usually, this cloud is not at the horizon, so usually it's warmer. On day like this, looks like the shadow itself is cool enough, even though the cloud is not that close to horizon. Anyway, I'll be teaching clouds as a landscape element. Just stay tuned, and I will definitely explain you how we paint clouds right above us on sunny day in the distance, and those which are close to horizon. You can also see that I grabbed the fan brush because I still feel that we should start with the area not of the sky. I want to work on the again on the left side of the painting on crown of trees, create that transparency, and I'm just using brush with different technical capability, and then having still paint wet, I will approach close with my bigger brush, and I will create a, let's say, margin of this I would say collectively creating crown of these several birch trees. So this area seems to be warm, like an upper part, but I'm not touching it because I know I'm going over settled but still somewhere wet paint, and that area is usually darker than the sky. Everyone knows when you paint over a dark area, especially over a very dark area with paint which looks great on one side of the painting. If you put it surrounded by darks, it looks bleached. Same value, but looks much lighter, and it looks like it lost its color intensity, unless it's crazy orange or crazy yellow. It will, but we rarely paint with paints like that. I find now it's much more interesting. Of course, I'm following and thinking of the way how it was painted by Leviton, how he was working and trying to create the same feeling and the same way, following same language of expression, maybe some tools, and which I remember just from my childhood, seeing Leviton's painting so many times, so often. I don't think I will be using my fan brush anywhere else other than on this area today. Grass on this peninsula on the left. I don't think it's a relatively small painting, and it's dead grass which is not standing, kind of. It's not the summer grass. I don't think I will use my fan brush for that. I'd rather be using a different, maybe a rigger brush. We'll see. But for what I paint right now, fan brush is a good solution. Try it if you have it. Also, at times you paint and you can scrape with a palette knife. That also helps to create that uneven texture. I don't want it to look like cotton. We don't want it to look like a cloud, even though I call it cloud. It's definitely it's a mesh which is uneven. So it has its own kind of knots where more of those branches are. And even though it looks like there is no any special organization, there are just bigger branches and stem, they're around them, and there is no exact, like on, there is no exact step size like between branches. It exists, but we rather go by ratios which gets dictated to us by golden ratio. Just make it aesthetically more interesting. So I'm adding more intense blue just in some spots. If you look at the reference and try to unfocus your vision, or even look to the side around, you will notice that the reference image gives you a feeling of some areas which are blue enough. You see they're kind of gray and greenish and yellowish branches, kind of that kind of browns, and then you start to see somewhere blue. How that happens? We see it, we observe it, and for us, just we have to try, and you will collect that effect. Once you see it more, you'll paint more of it. If once you don't see it, you will not paint it. I don't want you to paint constantly, always, especially outside from your brain. I want you all to have a library of knowledge. Like standard solution for this. And then you start thinking deeper. What else do I see? I know how to paint just the crown of tree like this in that kind of weather. You can guess, you can do that even if you created this landscape from your brain. On the other hand, when you're outside, you'll be no worries painting what you know. At the same time, you will have big part of your brain which worries a lot. Usually it will be working for you to notice something unique about this weather today, and weather is always different. It's humidity, it's a color of the sky, color of the clouds, of course, how much dust we have in the air. So it creates like unbelievably, I would say, uncountable amount of the light condition. More pink, more orange, yellow, just cool, kind of cooler white light is a big possibility as well. On windy days, the storm is approaching, storm is leaving, those clouds and that. I mean, and you should understand of course, because we all fly, that the weather is so different when you fly. There is that layer of clouds, this layer of clouds, and they move. They constantly change appearance. So you kind of have from your library how to paint sky out of those 20 standard situations. You know what to apply, but you still have to paint it a unique way. Clouds will be or darker or lighter or bluer or greener or warmer, so whatever works best. Applying paint quite impasto for the sky, but compared to other parts paint, things like on foreground, snow, ice, or especially grass and just expose the ground. In the sky you create add even a little bit of green through yellow, and you need to make it smooth enough and still show volume, which is not just like spheres there. Good thing about painting clouds, you can paint them quite abstract, but still the way as natural clouds look like. So clouds which I paint now, I'm working on colors now. I wish I was outside. I could pick colors more accurately because I could see color at least outside better than the photographs gives me. And of course, look at my own palette, I would have probably bigger problems compared to studio, because here I see colors very well. No wind, no mosquitoes, no glare unneeded. I can turn any side, any direction. When you're outside, of course, you cannot stand with your back to the view unless you practice special technique. When you paint from memory, you look there and then you paint, then you turn back, try to remember what you had to remember, and then turn back. So as you see, I've been removing excess of light there. Overall, I like the way how now sky looks like. It's very small amount of light which has like right under the cloud. It's more on pink side, but the greenish area I still will keep part of it, because pink with that greenish, let's call it cerulean blue, will work very well with the purple. You also can notice that there is like almost like a broom in the distance where you see those trees, a lump of trees on the right. In the reference, there is a tree with the branches which look like looks like a rake, kind of like a newer rake. So it's a lot of warm color there. I will get there later and we'll correct it. I now getting back to the crown. I like pretty much everything now in crown. I think I cannot say exactly what shape is that. It has some sort of, I don't know, like shape A maybe, kind of like special font. The only thing, you see those warm spots, almost yellowish in the almost like a left upper corner. They do not exist on the reference image. For sky, it's too warm. For, let's say, branches, they are too light. Later I will remove them. If I was now painting, I definitely would pay attention to it right now. But I'm commenting my own painting, which I did yesterday. I keep a lot in mind, and I know I'm going to fix it pretty soon. Quite often when we're not feeling very well or getting distracted, or we're talking over the phone when we paint, there is a good chance to overdo this area. And again, get the excess of the paint on the canvas, and then crown doesn't look that active. It looks like there are no 4 or 5 trees together, but just like 2 or 3 of them, or even 1. But overall, it looks light. It looks transparent. It gives good feeling of a right feeling of sky behind these branches, and I also, yes, I like the value of it. So that cluster of trees, this whole the skyline, except for those new paint application, it's pretty dry. So I can carve part of those trees and make it more elegant. There's a big temptation to work and make those edges sharp, but they are not sharp. It's evergreen trees with needles. It's almost like semi-transparent, only like 3-4 trees in a row together. It will create a dense crown. So it's also a big temptation to create the rhythm between tree tops, kind of even, same height, same distance, right and left, and then it looks like it's not a view in Vermont. It looks like it's a garden somewhere in that area. To create feeling of natural woods, you need to make it, rather use the golden ratio, talking about distance between them, like 2 to 3, and maybe more dramatic, like 1/3 to 2/3 a ratio of distance between, let's say, 3 trees. Center will be shifted to the left, center tree will be shifted to the left tree or to the right tree. So creating on one side one group and one single one, creating at the same time leaving balance, but balance will be achieved through kind of further measures. How close are these unevenly split group to 2 parts close to other bigger objects. I'm trying to introduce paint which is pinker, and the color and value which I got, it's pretty good maybe for the area of the cloud, but definitely is not light enough. So when we have 2 whites, and on top I have titanium zinc, and on the bottom, so the second pile of white paint is a first is a zinc white, and the lower part is a titanium white, and they are of course different in quality. The lower one, titanium white, is thicker, and we can get lighter color if we get strong enough pigments like alizarin permanent, and a tiny bit of the yellow, lemon yellow. Let's see how things work. To create these mixes, we don't have big choice of paints. It's usually same paints: titanium white, alizarin permanent, cadmium orange, and cadmium lemon yellow. Adding a tiny bit of green as well. I want to create the color variety and a tiny bit color variation closer to the edge of the cloud. This looks nice. When I squint specifically, I start seeing that effect. Edge of the cloud. Just want to make edge softer and to create a more interesting skyline. Oh boy, now the line is quite flat there. I would take a different kind of clean brush and would make edge softer. So my pretty much full dozen of brushes which I have and I showed you, I think, and I did the video. Actually I need to post it, which brushes I use, and I use all of them during my painting session. If I had 20, I would probably use almost 20 of them, but those 12 is not just very few, and at the same time not just too many. So I have a luxury situation when I can grab a clean brush to work just on sky, or to have one brush dedicated to greens, which I was explaining earlier. So this session today is, so we are about 55 minutes online with 10 minutes of talking about coming classes, courses, etc. We have about 45 minutes since we started the video, and we have about an hour left before we finish. So today, and it will be no special kind of logical ending. I just didn't want to have session more than 2 hours. It's long, it could be tiring, especially for those who come and watch it live. And also I will mention that my class sessions will be about 2 hours, and if we're trying to cover really a lot, that will be like almost 3 hours, because that will include critique, it will include maybe extra tips, etc. Everything is recorded during my class, and you can always watch it later. Let's see what's happening on our painting. I made a mix of blue, light blue for the foreground snow. When I applied, you see how dark it looks and how cold it looks. I will not change it a lot, in fact, and in a few minutes you will see it will look appropriate. It will look warmer and will look lighter. Why? Because I will eliminate too much of a light, warm environment around it. You see, it's disappearing without touching those first brush strokes. They do not look crazily blue anymore, and the whole situation start looking closer and closer to what we see on our reference image. It's amazing, isn't it? And if you look at the reference image, you see how kind of cool and warm that snow, because it has different patches. Once you apply this, try not to kill that illumination with different colors. Of course, you can go with brighter blues, with brighter pink. We're not impressionists. We're not trying to exaggerate. So we will try to use like a realistic approach of realism. If you see their vibration of color, create it, and just create as with tools as little as possible. At the same time, don't limit yourself. It's, it sounds very strange. So how much is much? How much is just few? How many are just few? It's hard to say, but with a color of the same value, when I paint tree or grass, not grass, but something, let's say solid, the edge side of the wall, and the wall is painted evenly, I would go with often with very close values of 3 color variation. If it's sunlit area, sunlit side of the White House, that will be, depending of course on material, of course a lot of white mixed with raw sienna, small amount of one of blues, most likely those which are from the ultramarine blue area, and a little bit of the something pinkish or orangey. And the orangey probably will not be much unless it's sunset. More of 2 colors really being dominant, and 1/3 color to add some smaller or narrow brush strokes. So why the wall, especially if it's kind of like older house, which is not absolutely even, it's not like made on factory, absolutely, it's not Apple design, It's like house in Maine. They have chips and this and that. I mean, it's paint chip off, and also yes, and some maybe humidity, the water damage on the paint, and then also reflection from the snow, or reflection from the porch, or reflection from the roof, or reflection from the sky in some areas, and that really affects. So the same mass may possibly have very almost even a value distribution, but at the same time quite colorful. I mean, the color distribution will be quite interesting. So you see now how snow, which looked wrong, looks good. Of course, the foreground snow, I made it warmer. I can here and there add, and I left some of lighter spots of the color of the paint, which was under. I'll leave it like that for now, because I think it's pretty right approach. So that green eyes, and it's whatever it's framed to. I'll apply first paint to that area. Will it be warm or cool? It's hard to say. It's rather a value. It's not much different from the foreground. It feels like it's cooler, at least partially. And let's stretch it, and then edge, especially edge of that snow, kind of like a line of snow, get close to water, turns to be yellowish. So there is probably some iron in the water, or just rotting leaves give that color of tea for the water. So definitely need to show and what we see there, adding purple, yellow. Talking yellow, I mean, of course, those yellows like yellow ochre or a raw sienna, that type of yellow, not the cadmiums. And far edge of water is also warm. At least the water side is warm, and I don't see any cooler color approaching. You know, on the edge of anything you see color change. Let's say if you have I don't know, basically white yellow, yes, the birch stem with dark background. So the background, which is dark and let's say cool, like in this case, if you had to paint it like in bigger scale, or there was a bigger distance between these trees, closer to the edge, I mean the background close to the edge of the tree trunk will look cooler. It will look cooler because of the bark of the birch tree is warm, and vice versa. If the trunk of the birch tree was greenish, kind of cool, almost like ice, glacier green blue, and background was gray, it would look warm, and it would look quite it would look warmer right on the edge of that cool stem of the tree. I need definitely to make edges softer, especially on overcast day. Not so many are sharp edges, sharp lines. I see audience of watching is growing, and if you like this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel. I have a subscription, number of subscribers growing, and again, if you would like to say thank you to me, there was a link to thank me and support financially, or you can just leave a comment, as many of you do. You're very kind. And also a subscription, it doesn't give me money, but at least it gives me emotional response, positive feedback that what I do is needed. David, you say, sorry, got here late. So you will have a week to watch this on YouTube. Then it will be moved to my subscription site. And I think until I get there a good amount of people, the videos, it will be optional. And to go to paid subscription or not, or if you really like videos, please you can start paid subscription from now. It's not going to be a lot. It probably will be under $20 a month, which over time will include dozens and maybe hundreds of videos. During my travel, I will create a little kind of observation, little blogging. I always plan to do, sometimes it's just more difficult, but now having good start, having a couple of webinars before travel, I feel that I'll be able to work very well and freely with video, not feeling a lot distracted. During my travel to Wyoming, I'm going to paint a lot of the evergreen trees, which I'm working on right now. By the way, we are working on warmer edge, creating that color tension, and I'm taking equipment with me to, and I hope this time I will do recordings which I really like. Those who follow me have seen me working on different format of canvas. Of course, as all of you, I like horizontal format. One of my favorite sizes is 9x12 landscape format, but it doesn't fit very well to my screen if I want to show you a reference. So that is why I have a little bit unusual palette, and I've been using vertical palette before, and let me know if you like it, if that's okay. And then of course you see right in the center my canvas and reference. Also in my classes and online videos, I will try to, during editing, show you a stages of my painting. Let's say, imagine what's happening on palette is not that difficult, or I can comment well what I'm mixing, etc., etc. If you can see on the left side reference, in the center my painting at this stage of painting, and then on the right side where you see palette, you will see finished painting, and you can see the whole process, beginning and idea, then intermediate stage, and then finished stage. I can, of course, during the editing, insert, at least for a short period of time for analysis, my final painting, which this painting now is in process of creation. Yes, so let's get back to my painting, and we have here kind of ideas how to proceed. Two spots which I barely touched. I have on the right side that green, which now over working on other parts seem to be quite green and yellow, which I don't see there. Of course, the initial image had more of the greens, and then now I kind of pushed them to the left, so I included more of evergreen trees to have a good balance to shapes on the left side. And also I have this peninsula which is opened from snow and dead grass and rocks on it. So let me work on it, and first again, paint which I apply looks too dark, but then you will see that this is absolutely a normal feeling for the situation when we have a right value for our canvas, for our paint. Talking about value, it's greenish. Oh boy, too much green. I'm glad we have a lot of white, which has no much of a green, and that water really has nice aqua kind of color. And I need to find shape of this peninsula. It's you know, I decided to add a little bit of snow, which somewhat create now, as what I see, feeling that we have like a Z shape or S shape. And it looks like on the left we have something, and then of course it looks like there is another lake on the left side and then a lake on the right side, or pond. So I try to do a different color or different value. So I made more, it's darker, more purple, treating edges so it doesn't feel, I want that snow to be felt like it's sitting on this grass. It's not just grass on the sides of it, but it's grass under it. Will I be able to reach this effect or not? It's hard to say. As you see, I'm using mix of the olive green and raw sienna, adding cadmium orange, which looks appropriate now, and then I will feel that, I mean, it's not that warm. I may add more grayish mixes using cooler greens. Maybe we'll go with viridian green, or even we'll add that cerulean blue paint, which is in fact, I think as I mentioned, I go often not with the cerulean blue, but with hues, cerulean blue hue or manganese blue hue, which is a mix of probably a bunch of titanium white, phthalo green, and something else probably to decrease that crazy activity of the phthalo paint. What makes this part difficult is we usually have on spots like this top lighter and the bottom getting darker. There is no any obvious light direction. It's ambient light. And at times when I paint, it starts looking like concave. It doesn't look like a lump over the ground. When that happens, first you need to understand why that happens. When I look at the reference image now, it feels that there is, I don't think there is any beaver nest, or how we call them, because that's usually in the water. Maybe it's roots of trees show there, or edge. It's very hard to read shape. Try to avoid shapes like that. I chose this reference image and the whole scene because we started with that painting you've seen in part 1 and in Instagram, and then in email, which you all received, which looks quite different from what we're working on. That painting was done outside. It was in plein air in Vermont a couple of years ago. In fact, it's 3 years ago. Was painted. The second thing is it was painted, I think, over another painting. So it was not just toned canvas. It was toned canvas with some kind of darker brown spots. So it had already some green and brown, and I was really working like almost using negative space, painting with my snow and sky mixes, leaving some space, and then all edges happen to be soft. And I really like how it looks like a pink birch looks on that painting. It's very good with values. This one I'm painting, I would say under bigger stress, but I'm painting under very bright light of studio for a video recording. I will balance that painting to normal. So this painting is right in front of me, and it will be available for purchase. I'm going to sell this 8x12 painting for a price of $500 unframed. So it will be signed, and those who will buy it will have a sticker on the back, write a few words of appreciation. So you'll have a signature in the front and signature in the back. So after the third session, I will post it as a purchase, and it will be shipped to you in April if you wish to purchase it. So, and also I will place a link into description of all three videos. So if you ever decide that you want this painting, you're welcome to check out. Go to zufar.com. You can check over there, or you can come to kind of search in YouTube Zufar Bikbov winter scene. You'll find this video. Oh no, it will be just during these couple of weeks. Then I will post it on my subscription website. So we'll find a way. You always can write me an email. There is a contact form on zufar.com and contact form on Rosera. Just tell me that painting which was on webinar, I would like to have it. Is it still available? I'll let you know within a day or even less. So dead grass, how to create that? As you see, I got the rigger brush, and so now I'm softening with harder brush, softening edge. You know, the snow, even though it's sometimes very dense and almost ice, it still has transparency, somewhat transparent, and its edges are not as hard as, let's say, edge of paper would have, or edge of whatever, a white plastic, or edge of the wood, piece of wood. It's snow, it's water, in fact, and the snow is just a little piece of ice, snowflakes. So altogether, especially in close, when it's close, we can see it has softer edges, and plus in day like this. Also, you could expect that day when this snow all got melted down, the heat and warmth was coming close to this ice, so it was the kind of heat was melting snow down more and more, and right on the edge, it's not that ice is wet, and it's dark. It's already dying, let's put it this way. Yes, I'm trying to kind of pay more attention to what's happening behind those birch trees. If we started before with some stems, with some kind of whatever is growing there, and when you look at the reference, it's hard to say. It's like a knot of the cable, the white cable. It's all twisted, but we cannot do that. We can. Otherwise, it will. I don't know how that will look. So we're trying to show these trunks are definite ones, and maybe we'll create their mesh of young growth from the bottom. So it's definitely a redesign challenge. So we kind of recreate. It's like our thinking process. We do not know exactly who we are actually, but it's more difficult to understand who are other people. So we know just for only what we know about them, and we create based on this knowledge our own image, and that could be quite far from the real image of the person. So any psychologist will tell you about that. And the same thing here. So we see this image and then we recreate it. I'm trying to scrape part of the paint to make it even like going across creating feeling of branches across the, you see, different parts, and those lines, so which I mean that movement of palette knife helps me to expose a dry lower level, unless it's white canvas there. So I would not do that with our first layer of paint, which before it's got dry. So when you do the second layer of a dry one, of course that will work, and I did not leave any white. So also any tree, basically anything in landscape or even still life, we're not painting anything floating. We want connection between object, let's say house or tree or whatever, they are connected to the ground. So if objects have feeling of levitation, that will be, that's something which tried to paint Marc Chagall. We are working in realistic manner. We want trees be connected to the ground and look stable. Okay, we can create feeling of a wind if we want. We're not gonna create the feeling of the flying trees. I'm looking at messages. David wrote, I guess this is your second one in a different size format. In fact, the format is absolutely the same. And if you haven't seen the previous one, I recommend to subscribe to my channel. In fact, let me post it right here so you can really open it for yourself now. I think everything's streaming. Okay, that's good. Let me open it so you really could see it. All right, David, just a moment. So here's the link of the part 1, David. If you would like to watch it, just open that window. All right. Now let's work on design of those trees in a distance. With the left one, I think we got closer to value. It's still, I think I still have pretty warm color of that dead grass. It looks nice. It doesn't look bad, but the tree trunks are still a lot brown, and also the grass looks greenish compared to those tree trunks. It's okay, but compared to the reference, it's way too warm. Let's also get the warmth of that green down. I will teach how to paint trees, evergreen trees, naked winter scene trees, summer trees, maybe spring and fall, of course, as one of the most beautiful season color-wise. Many people want to be artists, or those who are artists cannot just wait when the winter comes. They really want to paint fall. Some people like early fall, some people like late fall, depending how lyrical or how much joy they want to show there. Anyway, so I will teach you how colors, temperature, and values of different parts of trees look. Generally, all needles of evergreen they are kind of outside, So when you see a deep shadow, like under the tree or between branches, it's a lot of brown bark there, and it looks brown there because it doesn't catch any bluish color from the sky. It's shadow, so the shadows a lot warm on these evergreen trees. So darkest spots usually warm if we look at the tree close enough. Then on sunny day, the top of the tree is usually cool, first against the semi-transparent part of the trees against the sky. They let a little bit of the light go through, and due to interference, like this light doesn't really turn around, but creates tiny bit a cool halo over there between. And sky holes, they have, if you paint the bigger ones, they often have that bluish halo, unless we have a sun right behind them. But if it's sky, clouds, or open sky, it will have a blue halo. So that part is usually cool. And overall top of the tree, unless it's lit with a warm light at the sunset, it also looks cool. Then it looks warmer, and then dark areas are very warm. So that's the structure of painting them. So, and I'm trying to show you pretty much similar thing here, except of the effect which is created by those crown of trees without leaves, which add some purple grayish in front of them, and that mixes with that green behind, creates indefinite color. So plus, of course, the texture is different for that area, and I have not defined. When you look at exactly the shape of those tree crowns, when you look at the reference, it doesn't seem to be very exciting. You see what I'm working? So I'm working on green spots, and because of that those green spots, that's exactly the spots where we see those spruce trees seen without much of the obstruction and change of colors created by these birches or other leafy trees. It's time to get back to birches. It would be much easier it was if we could like start and finish. I'm showing you a real painting process. I could do a re-recording, like more systematical, which is not bad idea, but this is webinar. We are searching for the right approach together. During the class, things are much more clear. So we do this, we do that, minimum of steps if possible. Everything is kind of calculated, unless it's a demo of something new. So when I was talking about those classes which are coming in April and in May, remember, save the date, and I will post an email to my subscribers, dates of demo. It will be just exclusive. It will be, even if we decide that it goes on YouTube, I like YouTube better because of quality of picture, and then compared to Zoom makes a lot of compression. It's all dedicated to make, I know, conference. If person's face is visible, that's fine, but on YouTube, picture is really important, and with a good connection, a pretty sharp and neat image. So we will have a longer session, and that longer session will be covering all structure which I'm going to teach. So you will learn during demo, and if you decide to take a class online and or workshop or both, you will have a discount, and that discount is definitely you will get your $20, which our demo will be priced at. You'll get those money back. So the demo will be for you for free, or you can count as your class will be $20 cheaper if you take both. So you'll have even bigger discount. So you'll have that thing announced. I will have update of our classes and lessons and this particular block series, and I will of course write here in my comments area, live chat, of course, website which is well known to you. It doesn't seem to be clickable because it doesn't have that HTTPS. But if you remember Rosera, that's a website which I'm building with help of amazing my amazing assistant Ellie Boyd. Thank you, Ellie. So she really helps me a lot in the progress working on this website, because I'd rather focus on creation, painting, choosing. It's a lot of work, but I just do not have enough time during the day to paint, to write my thoughts, and then probably going with classes and also watch my answering messages or working on website design. So I'd rather maybe answer just questions which you post on Instagram or YouTube or through a regular mail. So let's go and work on those stems. I'm trying not to start and finish that line even like at first it's not even. Second, it has those breaks created with the spots, which easy in fact to place over dry paint. And also at the base there are more usually spots. This looks like more cracked bark. There are a number of birches, of course, in the world. There are black birch, white birch, silver birch, and probably pink birch, etc. I want to create these birches also different. So some of them will be darker, some of them will lighter, some of them, because curve, will have a little bit of green at the base, and all of them will look, their stems will look or greenish or yellowish, quite warm against the sky. I guess you notice that looking at the reference. So this is my kind of lightest birch. Sometimes we can create uneven presentation, like more natural, just going with the opposite tip of the brush, kind of a little bit of scraping. It's this tool, I mean this approach usually works well when you work and paint on second layer over dry layer like we do today. So using to warm and create warm color for stems, we're using yellow ochre. I think that's the closest color, and tiny bit maybe warmer color, adding just somewhere spots of the white with cadmium orange. This looks good compared to others. What I don't like, it seems to be too straight, like a stick, like a post. So I'll need to break it somehow. When you paint, or when I paint, let's put it this way, I realize, even though I consider myself a person who likes drawing, how much more I need to learn in drawing process. Because painting without drawing skills is a big challenge. Even when you have a decent drawing skills, painting could be that situation when you realize it's still not enough. Draw more often. Draw with pencil. Draw with maybe charcoal. Draw with watercolor pencils. Maybe, I do not know how much value of working with it, but anyway. So definitely drawing with pencil is easiest way of working and practicing, and there are a few aspects, and as in anything else, things are not that simple. You have your pencil all the time in your hands and you're all set. If that was so simple, I would probably carry with me 10 pencils, having them in my hand, behind my ear, under my armpit, etc. You need to have a purposeful movement. On one side, let's say if you want to be better with the landscape, and in landscape, trees are your struggle. Who doesn't have trees as a struggle? I think everyone. You would practice tree stems, branches, kind of observe things which in nature, observe things what you like. There are many different things. See your own response, how what shapes you choose when you draw, what really excites you, etc. So if you like cityscape or townscapes, of course perspective is a must to know. Also, how do you like design of roofs? Which angle you like to look at the houses from above the ground, like from this third floor of high building, and you paint roofs, and like specific angle for streets, or you like to paint from or draw from the low point, almost like flat straight view to the houses, or with like 45-degree, which I usually do not recommend because it looks boring as of me. So when you practice, you realize what you like, what you can say to other people, what's your ability, and plus you're definitely not getting a worse artist if you draw a lot, unless you draw and don't paint at all. You need your drawing skills. As if you're a basketball player, you need to be able to run. You cannot play basketball without being able to run fast enough. So that's not the only skill you need, but that's one of the fundamental things. Or you cannot be a basketball player if you can run well, but you really cannot do anything with your arms and hands. So there are many aspects, and drawing is one of them, and it's quite important. Of course, for painter, you need to see colors, and I think I mentioned that, but I don't really mind to say about that again. After painting, like yesterday and a week before, or when I work on this painting, where a lot of colors which are close in values have very small little shifts in colors, like a little bit of green, a little bit of blue, everything seems to be gray. Looks like my part of the brain and my eye all together start seeing things much more acutely. So which means I start kind of thinking with the categories of paints, and I start see grays as a complex of different colors, kind of gray with a little bit of green, and not just with a little bit of green, gray of specifically small amounts of mix of the viridian green, and maybe tiny bit of the alizarin permanent, so that will be kind of cooler green, or a little bit of olive green, which has more of a yellow part, so in brown. And then I see, here you start seeing reflexes, tiny slight reflexes, cool reflexes, warm reflexes, reddish reflexes. After sessions of painting and working on scenes like this, I walk by the tree and I start kind of appreciate that it's not gray. It has that kind of a little bit greenish mold growing on it, and then in cracks I see a little bit of more of a red, and I also kind of come up with ideas, what paints I would use to mix, and I start noticing values. It's just what few hours of working on challenging scenes, which seems to be why we're painting this. It's really a very like vision developing exercise. So you will be watching and trying to kind of feel more confident with approach painting scenes like this, but your real learning will happen when you paint outside. Hopefully, I hope that what you hear today, or I mean from this video, some of that will prove to be correct during your painting, specifically painting outside sessions, because outside you see much more colors. Even on gray days, if you just look briefly, oh, everything's gray, where the colors are, let me take picture. You take picture, it looks gray. Yes, I told you it's gray. But when you start painting, try not to go with just black and white. You will create the most boring neutral kind of mix. Try to create gray complexly. Try to play on your palette. Try to mix complementary colors. So maybe first create brown. As you've seen, I've been mixing ultramarine blue and the orange, cadmium orange, and I created some sort of purplish brownish color, and then you can add on the side, create mix with more of a blue, tiny bit of white, and see how mixing with white change its color. Of course, it will change value. At the same time, you can create another mix of the same paints, of the same cadmium orange and ultramarine blue, and then more of a blue, and add white, and you will see that your mix is different. If you will apply these brush strokes next to each other, you will see that this gray, brownish gray, like brownish gray and bluish gray together, they kind of interfere and then vibrate, they pulsate. So altogether it will be just gray. But when you look at it, because you didn't mix them all together totally to one paint, like household paint, a very even one, you create the painting effect which we experience being outside. When you walk in the woods, walk in the fields, drive on the road. All of you like driving, and I like driving too, and I like to see how beautiful is nature. One of the limitations would be, yes, I cannot stop, but even if I can stop, taking picture could be nice design, could be some colors okay, but you as an artist can make it the way as you feel it, as you see it, as you feel it, and see constant improvement of that ability. As you see, I'm glad that I have that dark tree. Maybe it would look better if it was somewhere between those trees. It looks like it's hiding. Questionable branch which I placed now, and the shape of it. I remember in session 1 I painted it after like very brief drawing, I would say, after just sketching this view with what I was using, I forgot. I think I've been using oil pastel, as I like it, over toned canvas. But if I drew, if I recognize from beginning that this spot will be difficult, because I see there are 12 trees, I want to leave 5 or 6 of them. How will I paint them? I could create design on paper. I would spend on it 5 minutes, didn't like it, another 5 minutes, and then I would free my brain off this problem, from this problem of design. So I wouldn't struggle right now what I do now. So I confess that I could make better this whole design. And we're working with a smaller painting. It's sometimes to create challenges because it's small, kind of cannot go like more vigorously. Maybe you could have like one beautiful brush stroke and it all looked fine. Very unlikely. Sometimes it happens. It doesn't. It's rarely a thing which we can repeat over and over and over again. So if you have a drawing, that's much better control over the situation. Interesting effect happens now. You see that this birch tree, which you see, which is like lightest one, probably thickest one of all of them, is created with a stem of another birch tree to the right, almost like looks like a bone of the bird. I like those shapes which look like wing of bird, bone of bird, have some little aerodynamic features. You can even also see on this at this stage that shape of those evergreens, that big mass on the right side, then its extension. It's all together like a pyramid. It's like a pyramid, and I like that shape, since we had part or right side of that pyramid chopped off. So it's like pentagonal, irregular pentagon. Now let's get back to our trees. Maybe I'm spending way too much time. I just see that overall I like it's pretty stable group of trees all together. Maybe something's wrong, and you don't have to always torture, go over and over and over again. When you're outside, definitely not the case. When you need to work a lot on your design. Okay, during plein air landscape painting in 4 steps, where plein air is a part, and I will show you during my class is an online class. I will show you a recorded plein air session of painting the scene, and that will be a scene from Spring View. We didn't have it gotten here yet, and that will be most likely spring of this part of the country on the East Coast. And then you will see how simple your color study should be, which should free up your whole, I'd say, ego, because ego dictates us some expectations, who we should be, who we are. It has a good and not good things, and quite often it keeps us disappointed with what we've got at the end. If you know that it's how things should look, your ego will be quiet. You will know that you achieved goals, you'll focus on them, and then you can keep going from that stage on your studio painting. So I will show that to you. Again, this is not the color study, this is a hybrid view. It's a painting of 12 by 8 size, from a reference without color study, with a sketch without definite drawing elaboration. This is just format. This is just for practicing, you know. This is something to experience and practice challenges, difficult situations. And I don't want to show you like how masters paint here. Now I want you to show what artists usually face when they have to paint thing like this. They just have no option. They didn't paint outside, they have reference image, and what they need to think of when next time they go and paint outside this scene, what they need to know, what they need to kind of avoid, maybe, as you wish. So those gaps in between. I like how gentle color of those trees are. And see, if your stems of these birch trees were not warm, if they were just a little cooler, let's say it was very close to color of snow, had that blue, etc., what would it would feel like we have snow, and we have also snow somehow lines crossing that background mass of trees in the background. Is that normal? No. So you create slight shift in color into warm colors, adding a yellow ochre, and trees are trees, birch trees are trees, and snow is snow. They're very close in value, but it doesn't feel that it's the same thing. And the same thing with the sky. You see that stems, upper parts, just above the skyline of these birch trees, their stem is just barely darker than the sky, but the color, not even color, it's very muted. I would call it temperature is different. Sky is cooler, and stem of birch tree is warm, and it immediately separates and gives us a feeling that this is not part of the sky. These are stems, and overall by shape and place where they're growing at, and design of whatever spots on their skin, on their bark, these are birch trees. What's happening with this tree on the left? You already see on the top that it has more of a green, and that's a cooler green. Don't go with olive green on the top. Go there with viridian green. All right. And I think I will try in the future use viridian green. If you probably have it. If you don't, you can mix it. Of course, you can use always the cerulean blue and small amounts. Small amounts. I do not know. Probably you need to have ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, and small amounts of the yellow. So more of a blue and yellow cadmium, yellow. You need to play with it, but definitely, of course, white. White will make the whole mix lighter and cooler. Yes, viridian is expensive paint, and for cerulean we have that substitute, which is okay. But for viridian, if you have imitation, that will have a tallow green, and that's quite crazy paint, like emerald green with tallow. That's bad. It really needs to be controlled a lot. But again, looking at that tree, top part of that tree is cooler. It still catch light from the sky. It's cool. It's lighter, and the bottom is wet. It's more towards the ground. It cannot catch on day like this much of reflex from the grass, because of grass is barely lit by it's barely lit by any light, because from just on sunny day you have acutely lit light, acutely lit grass, and that reflects. But I'm trying to, and I'm showing to you that at times when you create and paint stems of tree going along its branch, you need to alternate with perpendicular brush strokes, and flat brushes really help that. And again, those little dots and spots kind of bring some life into it. I like how it looks. I like branching of that tree. That birch tree and this tree, they're kind of touching each other, which is not best way of connecting them, but this is not this pretty, I think, pretty nice solution. I don't think I'm going to paint work much more on design of it, and connection of them on the bottom, I think it's not a bad idea. We have just a few minutes left, about 4 minutes to finish this session. I would like to mention, for those who have been asking me about, am I teaching any classes in area of Lyme, Old Lyme, Connecticut, where we have famous School of Representational Art, Lyme Academy. Yes, I'm teaching there sunset painting in 4 weeks. That will be weekly lessons from 4 to 7 p.m. unless weather is bad, and we'll be painting in studio, kind of working on theory and of course practice from whatever references we have, but it's still a lot to learn in studio before we go outside, so, and practicing as well. But most of, I mean, hopefully all 4 Wednesdays we will paint on water in town, catching evening light. So I want people to have a good kind of drawing skills before that, or at least they try to practice drawing skills more often, so they would have no problem with the framing of creating of composition, which I will suggest a few of them. And then and painting quickly, painting and plein air. So that class starts in May on Wednesday. I will let you know. Again, that will be in my subscription, so please subscribe to my newsletter, webinars, announcements. And if you subscribed and then you didn't like, you unsubscribe, so there is really no problem. But I think if you are here, you've been interested in painting landscape, I'm glad that you stopped by if you are new. And it will be $400 for 4 lessons. So I will post a link to description of this video once we have it processed by YouTube. That will happen, I think, overnight. And tomorrow, yes, we'll have about a minute left to finish. And tomorrow, you will be able to reach it after this stream. So because today, after stream is over, most likely the YouTube will close access to this video for a few hours. It's a long video, 2 hours long, and it needs to compress it. And then I will edit the description, will add needed links, etc. So it's coming back and forth. You can see that adding and work of the cool and warm colors on these evergreens really creates a play. I will add stems later, but you see that olive green with orange, cadmium orange, and those cooler greens, which is mainly a mix of viridian green, blue, and again muting it. So we're finishing today's session, just a few more brush strokes. I'm not cleaning my palette at this moment because I'm not mixing any big piles of paints. And we're pretty much done. All right, I'm glad that we are all together. I see people been watching from beginning most of the session. I'm very glad that you have a genuine interest in painting landscape. That's my favorite subject. I like traveling, I like meeting people, I like to be out of crazy environment which we created in our home with computers, where we have tons of information flooding on us, stock market, political things, those awful things which are happening in Ukraine. And I'm anti-war person. I think diplomatically many things could be resolved, and all my heart with those who are suffering at this time in area of Ukraine. I provide support, and we talk. We have a lot of friends here from Ukraine, and I just do not know what can I do other than just supporting human rights organizations which could watch things, and I know I hope it can be changed. The situation can be changed to better. What else? Again, coming classes have been subscribed. Let's wait for next part 3 coming up next Thursday, which will be April 24th. I'll be talking probably behind the camera from Denver, Colorado, but the painting will be at the same scene. Okay, thank you for being with me, and again, thank you for your support. So see you.